twin flames a cosmic connection, or just another relationship label? Today we're exploring how this intense bond supposedly radiates energy so powerful, even strangers can sense it.
Oh, that's an intriguing concept. I've definitely felt that electric atmosphere around certain couples before. What exactly makes twin flames different from regular relationships?
Well, according to believers, twin flames are thought to be two halves of the same soul. It goes way beyond just compatibility or shared interests. We're talking about an overwhelming pull, almost like a magnetic energy that transcends words.
That sounds incredibly intense. So it's not just the couple feeling it, but everyone around them can sense it too.
Exactly. And that's what makes this concept so fascinating. Friends and family often comment on the unique energy between twin flames. They might say things like, "You two just light up the room," or "There's something so special about your connection."
I can see how that would be noticeable. But is this all just about physical attraction? Because I've seen couples with intense chemistry before, and while it can be eye-catching, it doesn't sound quite like what you're describing.
Great question. And no, it's not just about physical attraction. This twin flame chemistry is described as a soulful recognition that resonates on a much deeper level. It's emotional, spiritual, and yes, often physical too, but it goes beyond that. It's like recognizing a part of yourself in another person.
So it's like a connection on all levels of being. That sounds beautiful, but also potentially complicated.
You've hit the nail on the head there. While this connection can be incredibly profound and beautiful, it's not always smooth sailing. In fact, many describe the twin flame journey as intensely challenging. It's said to push both individuals to confront parts of themselves they might rather avoid.
Oh wow, that does sound challenging. Can you give an example of how this might play out in a real relationship?
Sure. Let's say one person in the twin flame relationship has issues with vulnerability due to past hurts. The intensity of the connection might force them to confront these fears head-on. Or perhaps one person struggles with self-worth, and the relationship constantly pushes them to recognize their own value. It's not always comfortable, but it's said to lead to profound personal growth.
I can see how that could be both exciting and terrifying. It's like the relationship becomes a catalyst for self-improvement.
Exactly. And that's why many people who believe in the concept of twin flames see these relationships as not just about romantic love, but about personal and spiritual growth. It's like the universe's way of pushing you to become the best version of yourself.
That's a beautiful way to look at it. But I'm curious, how do people know if what they're experiencing is a twin flame connection or just a really strong romantic relationship?
Well, that's a great question. And to be honest, there's no definitive answer. Many people describe a sense of recognition or familiarity when they first meet their twin flame, even if they've never met before. There's often a feeling of coming home or finding a missing piece of yourself, but it's important to note that these feelings can also be present in other types of deep connections.
So if I'm understanding correctly, it's not just about the initial attraction or connection, but also about the growth and challenges that come with it?
Absolutely. The twin flame journey is often described as a process of growth and self-discovery. It's not just about finding your perfect match and living happily ever after. It's about confronting your own shadows, healing old wounds, and evolving as a person. And interestingly, this growth process is said to happen whether the twin flames are in a romantic relationship or not.
Wait, so twin flames don't always end up in a romantic relationship? That's surprising.
It is surprising, isn't it? But yes, according to those who believe in this concept, twin flames don't always end up together romantically. Sometimes they come into each other's lives to catalyze growth and then move on. Other times they might maintain a deep friendship. The key is the transformative nature of the connection, not necessarily its romantic outcome.
That's really interesting. It challenges the typical Hollywood notion of soulmates or destined lovers, doesn't it?
You know, it really does. It's a much more nuanced and complex view of relationships. And it's important to approach this concept with a balanced perspective. While the idea of twin flames can be beautiful and inspiring, it's crucial not to use it as an excuse to stay in unhealthy relationships or to ignore red flags.
That's a really good point. I imagine it could be easy to justify toxic behavior or incompatibility by saying, but we're twin flames, so it's supposed to be challenging.
Exactly. The challenges in a twin flame relationship are supposed to lead to growth and positive change, not perpetuate harmful patterns. It's a fine line to walk. And it's important to remember that all relationships require work, communication, and mutual respect, whether they're twin flame connections or not.
So how do you balance this intense, almost mystical connection with the practical realities of maintaining a healthy relationship?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it comes down to maintaining a grounded perspective. Yes, you might feel an incredibly strong connection with someone, but it's still important to set boundaries, communicate openly, and make sure your needs are being met. It's about finding a balance between honouring that special connection and taking care of yourself.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like it requires a lot of self-awareness and emotional maturity.
Absolutely. And that's often part of the growth process that twin flame relationships are said to inspire. It's about learning to love yourself as much as you love the other person. And interestingly, many people report that the more they focus on their own growth and self-love, the stronger their twin flame connection becomes.
That's beautiful. It's like the relationship becomes a journey of mutual growth and support.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating is how this growth and connection can impact the people around them. Remember, we talked earlier about how the energy between twin flames is often noticeable to others. Well, this radiant energy can have a positive effect on their environment too.
Oh, that's interesting. How does that work?
Well, imagine being around a couple who are truly supportive of each other's growth, who challenge each other in positive ways, and who radiate love and understanding. That kind of energy can be infectious. It might inspire others to work on their own relationships, or to approach their lives with more love and understanding.
So in a way, these twin flame relationships could have a ripple effect on society.
That's one way to look at it. Yes. Of course, it's important to remember that this is a spiritual concept and not everyone believes in it. But whether you call it a twin flame connection or simply a deeply transformative relationship, these kinds of bonds can indeed have a positive impact on the world around them.
I can see how that would be true. Even if you don't believe in the concept of twin flames specifically, I think we can all recognize the power of loving, growth-oriented relationships.
Absolutely. And that's really the key takeaway here. Whether you believe in twin flames or not, we can all strive to cultivate relationships that push us to grow, that challenge us to be better, and that radiate positivity to those around us.
That's a beautiful way to look at it. So for our listeners who might be wondering if they've experienced this kind of connection, or maybe they're just curious about the concept, what advice would you give?
I'd say first and foremost, trust your intuition. If you feel you've experienced this kind of profound connection, honour that feeling. But also don't get too caught up in labels. Whether it's a twin flame, a soulmate, or simply a deep and meaningful relationship, what matters most is how it impacts your life and growth as a person.
That's great advice. And I suppose, based on what we've discussed, if it is a twin flame connection, others around you will likely notice and comment on it too.
Exactly. Remember, one of the key aspects we've discussed is how this connection radiates outward. It's not just felt by the individuals involved, but often remarked upon by others. But regardless of whether others notice or not, the most important thing is how the relationship affects you and your personal growth.
It's a lot to think about, isn't it? I feel like we've just scratched the surface of this fascinating topic.
We really have. The concept of twin flames touches on so many aspects of human relationships and personal growth. It's a reminder of the profound impact our connections can have on our lives and the lives of those around us. As we wrap up today's episode, I'd like to encourage our listeners to reflect on the meaningful connections in their own lives.
That's a beautiful way to end our discussion. And who knows, maybe some of our listeners will start noticing these intense connections around them, or even in their own lives.
Absolutely. And remember, whether it's a twin flame, a soulmate, or simply a deeply meaningful relationship, what matters most is how it enriches your life and helps you grow as a person. It's about the journey of self-discovery and mutual growth, not just the destination. Until next time, keep your hearts and minds open to the beautiful connections life has to offer.